Hi, my name's Dan, and this video is one in a series of videos that I'm doing on tutorials in games, which is part of a larger suite of videos about game design. And in this one, I'm going to talk about two particular things as an introduction to the topic of tutorials. I want to talk about the biggest problem that there is with tutorials that needs to be thought about when you're designing them, and I want to talk about some common tutorial techniques that are used in games. So here we go, the tutorial problem. So the player needs to learn how to play a game. The more complex your game is, the more daunting that task is to try and get the player to understand what they're doing. It shouldn't be really necessarily giving them lots of killer tactics, but the mechanics of playing the game is usually where the focus is. But this can be a barrier in three particular ways. One is to getting started. So you've spent some time downloading and installing the game. You're full of anticipation, but when you open it, the first thing you're faced is, well, possibly the first thing you're faced with is a cutscene, and you're kind of, depending on whether you're feeling really absorbed, you want to see this cutscene, and then you're into the tutorial, and it can be a thought of, well, I really wanted to get into the main game straight away. It can be a barrier to immersion depending on how you approach the tutorial. It can make you feel like you're not instantly in the world of the game, especially if your tutorial refers to the controls quite a lot, which it can do. And it can be a barrier to the fun. Some people love tutorials, some people don't, but I guess part of the problem is that some tutorials could be more interesting. So in a later video in the series, I will explore some tactics about how to overcome these barriers. But I just wanted to introduce that at this point. So the second thing I want to do in this video is talk about some tutorial techniques. I don't pretend that this is an exhaustive list, but I think I probably hit most of the common techniques that are currently being used or have been used in the past. So the first one is to freeze gameplay and show a whole load of text on the screen. This is less common these days. This particular picture actually obviously is quite blurred because it was quite a small screenshot and it's been blown up, but that's from Devil May Cry. There's much more commonly these days God text, which is on-screen text telling you what to do at a particular point in time. And here's an example of that. Some games now are going to the extent of not just giving it during the tutorial, but if it's small and fairly unobtrusive, it can pop up anytime that it's being needed. Some games, this has more been in the past, it seems to be not so much recently, have a helper character, so it's a character inside the concept of the world who explains to the avatar how to play the game, often referring to the controls. So here's one of the Zelda games, and Navi the Fairy shouts, "Hey!" and then tells you something that you can do and gives you some instructions. Sometimes these characters are particularly irritating. Sometimes that's done by design for comic effect. You can learn by examples. So some of the more subtle learning that can go on is where you see something happen before you have to do it as a player, either by an NPC doing it or, in this case with Portal, some mechanism that's doing this. So you see, first of all, the portals being created by an automated system before you get control of them yourself. So by the time you get the portal gun, you really understand what's going on with these portals, which is great. It's a good piece of tutorial work. And then finally, there's Learn Through Experimentation, and here's a game that a few people have played. It's maybe a bit obscure, but you learn what to do in this game by experimenting. There are some dangers with Learn Through Experiment. I actually remember many years back the first time I played Minecraft, and I just didn't get it. I didn't understand what I was meant to be doing. And what I didn't know was that I was meant to hit the tree. I hadn't tried hitting anything. I'd just been running around and wondering what I was meant to be doing. So learning by experimentation has got its downsides, but it can be quite an immersive way of learning. So that's a quick look through the perceived problem with tutorials and a quick look through some of the techniques that have been used in tutorials. The rest of the series explores tutorials and the design of tutorials in more depth. So please come back and see me in the next video, but that's it from me for now.